name is Sydney Amos, and I graduated from North in 2018. I'm now a vocal music education major in my second year at Eastern Kentucky University. When Ms. Root asked me to do this interview, I was so excited to help out. I know that these times can get a bit overwhelming, but I hope everyone is finding some time to do something that they love every day and indulge in a bit of music. Ms. Root has some questions for me to answer, so let's get started. Question number 1, what classes are you taking? So this is something kind of unique to being a music major, is that a lot of your other classmates in college or friends that you are going to be going to school with that aren't majors in music maybe will be taking 18 credit hours, but that's going to look like maybe 5 to 7 classes for them, whereas as a music major you're almost always taking at least 18 credit hours, but that looks more like 9 to 13 classes. So it's a lot more in your schedule every week and every semester, but a lot of it is ensembles and voice lessons and performance class and different things like that. So it's nothing to freak out about, because everyone in whatever music program you're in, if you choose to major in music, is going to be right in that same boat with you. So the classes that I'm enrolled in this semester are CED 200, which is my clinical observations for my education portion of my major. And something nice about EKU is that we have a K through 12 school on campus called Model Laboratory School. And so my entire career so far at Eastern, I have been in that school doing observations. My freshman year I did 10 hours, and this semester I do 20. I'm also taking EDF 219, which is educational psychology. And then I'm also in the honors program at Eastern, which is something really special, something that I'm super happy to be a part of, because it's kind of a tight-knit community, and through the honors program you get different perks like free books, early registration, a separate honors advisor who's amazing. Her name's Katie, and she's always available for questions, and even if you just need a chat, that kind of thing. And you will also have different opportunities like national conferences and classes like Sidewalk U, which I had taken this semester. And that's where I was able to go to Mexico over Christmas break and study border laws and migration and border culture. I got to talk with migrants and people running migrant shelters and different things like that, so it was really special. And then some of the music classes that I take every semester are Music 101, which is performance class. And then for that class I have to complete 16 recitals per semester. MUS 211, Intermediate Piano 2. No matter what type of music major you are, you have to take at least 4 semesters of piano class. As a voice major, you're pretty much taking piano the entire time you're in school. MUS 222, Voice 2, which is my voice lessons for this semester, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then MUS 225 and 226 are my choirs, my ensembles. And then I take Musicianship 4, and then Intermediate Theory 4, which is oral skills and written music theory. And then I'm also enrolled in music technology this semester. So now I'd just like to talk a little bit more about the observation hours that I mentioned that I need to do for my education portion of my degree. So every spring semester for me, I do observations and things like that, at least for the first 2 years of college. So my freshman year, like I said, I needed 10 hours, and this semester it's 20. So this semester I have been observing under Miss Sheila Littman, and she is the choral and music teacher at Model Laboratory School. So I've mostly been observing every Monday for 2 hours, and that kind of looks like going into the school, signing in, going to the classroom, and then assisting Miss Littman with anything she needs, whether it be passing out instruments or making sure kids are doing what they're supposed to do, or just observing sometimes and watching what she does and how she controls her classroom. What are some of the differences from my high school program to my college program? So there are definitely a few differences between North's program and my college program. The main difference is that it's all music all the time. I love it, but it can get taxing. So at least for me, I really have to be sure to sometimes take a minute and step away from the music that I'm working on in school and sing a song that I love to sing, or listen to pop music or anything like that. So in my program, I also take voice lessons weekly. I study with Dr. Daniel Kane. He is absolutely amazing, by the way. If you plan on or looking into going to Eastern to study vocal music, I would more than recommend asking to take him as your applied vocal teacher. He's amazing. So I take hour lessons every week, and the first half of that lesson pretty much looks like warming up the voice and doing different vocal exercises to strengthen and train the voice to sing in the healthiest and most proper way. And then the second half of that lesson is focused on working on the rec that I have for this semester. So every semester you kind of progress and are expected to memorize more pieces in more languages and different things like that, pieces that are harder and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, so I pretty much just do vocal exercises and then work on my pieces that I need to learn for the semester. Another difference between North's program and my program now is the type of music that I perform and focus on. So of course at North, it's pretty much musical theater or pop and different things like that. And I absolutely love that. I miss North's program every single day. It's so fun, so amazing. What Miss Root does with you all is so special, and going to college and talking to my new classmates and stuff, it's such a unique program that doesn't really exist in other areas of the state. In my collegiate program, I mostly sing and focus on classical music. I was very weary of this at first because of how much I love musical theater and different things like that. But the musicality and the technicality of what I'm working on has a special place in my heart now, and I've grown to love it so much. And it's definitely different, but I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to learn about both and to appreciate both. There are also opportunities for different styles of singing at Eastern. So we have a pop a cappella group called Echoes. They have a growing musical theater program at Eastern, and then we also have a bluegrass ensemble. How did North prepare you for what you're doing in college? North prepared me for what I'm doing in college in many ways. I'd like to take a second and kind of just talk about a few of the different people at North that specifically prepared me for college. So Miss Bueller was one of the most influential people in high school that prepared me for success in college. She taught me how to write papers like a boss, and that is an essential skill in college, pretty much no matter what your major is. She also taught me like how to take care of myself in college and how to not just focus on the schoolwork, but to make sure that I'm doing well and kind of having fun too. It's all about balance. Miss Root and her choir program also really prepared me for college. When I decided to major in music, Miss Root was the person that told me that I could do it. She helped me pick out audition pieces, and she reminded me that even if there are people that say I'm not good enough or say I can't do it, that I can, and that was more helpful than anything really. Every now and then I'll still text her about different things going on in my program and stuff like that, so I absolutely am so grateful for that. The program at North also really prepared me for college, so more than anything what it did was really teach me that I have a deep passion for music and for learning it and for teaching it and sharing that passion with others. So, I mean, if I wouldn't have had that experience, I might not be in the career path that I'm in today, and I'm so grateful for that. What got you into music? honestly am not sure how to answer this question. I don't know when my love of music began. I've been singing for as long as I can remember, and my parents say that I was singing just as soon as I could talk. I've been singing in my church since I was like 3 years old. I really just can't imagine a world or a time in my life where I haven't been involved in music. Who inspired you to make music? This is similar to the first question in that I'm not sure who first inspired me to make music because I don't really remember a time that I was not involved in music. But I do know that there have been so many influential people along the way that have inspired me to make music in different ways, to audition for the role in the musical, to become a music major and audition for a collegiate music program, or to get better at piano, just different things like that. My biggest supporter and inspiration has always been my mom. Ever since I was a little girl, I just always remember her asking me to sing for her, or to sing for the people at her nursing home, or to sing for our family when we had cookouts. She's always believed in me and told me that I can do anything that I set my mind to. And I know that moms are supposed to say that, but without those words and without her belief in me, I can't say that I would be where I am today and be doing as well as I am. Another person that has inspired me to make music is Miss Root. I remember my sophomore year was my first year being in choir, and I was in women's ensemble, and we did Beauty and the Beast that year. I was a doily. And then my junior year, I really wanted to be in mixed choir, but I actually was still in women's ensemble at first. And then I eventually got switched into mixed choir. I auditioned for High School Musical and was super excited about it. It was my first year, junior year, auditioning for one of Miss Root's musicals. I remember doing a scene with Trey Peterson, and it was that scene in High School Musical where Troy and Gabriella are up like on top of the school on the roof where all the flowers are and stuff, and they're having a little moment. I was doing that scene with Trey in an audition, and like I think even we were kind of blown away by like that little connection that you get sometimes when you're acting with someone, and I think it kind of maybe surprised Miss Root too. So I got to be Gabriella that year in High School Musical and got to be in mixed choir, which was super, super fun. But from my sophomore year in choir, kind of just growing up all the way to my senior year and even now, Miss Root has just always been such a light and such a perfect reminder of why I make music and why I love to make music. And she's always there to kind of lift me up if I'm just needing a little extra push in the music world. How would you describe the music or art that you create? The music that I create is pretty much always voice, and right now it's a lot of arias, opera rep, and art song, primarily because that's what I currently am working on in my program to better myself as a musician. But in my free time, I love to work on different musical theater pieces and Disney pieces. If any of you have seen Frozen 2, I love Anna's power ballad, The Next Right Thing. That's just a little funny meme that I just like, it gets me every time. I love that song and I love singing it, along with a lot of different Disney music and musical theater. Something that's been nice about this isolation is that I have a little more free time than usual to work on different things like Frozen songs or pieces from Waitress, or just different things that I really enjoy to work on. What does your creative process look like? My creative process always starts off with listening to whatever piece it is that I'm learning. I get on YouTube and I listen to probably at least a dozen different versions or interpretations of the piece, because then I kind of get a good feel of what the piece should be, and I'm not just listening to one, because I could maybe begin to develop little habits that that performer has that might not necessarily be specifically what the piece is calling for. After getting familiar with the piece, I look into what the piece means. If it's in English, I read the poetry or look into like the opera and where the piece is set in the opera, and kind of just begin to understand what the piece stands for. And then if it's in a foreign language, I first translate it into English in two separate ways. So I translate it word for word, and then I also translate it phrase by phrase. So doing it in these two different ways is very important, because you need that word for word translation, because words like love, hate, sadness, anger, words like that, you need to know which word in whatever foreign language your piece is in represents that word, because those are very powerful and you need to portray that when you sing them. And then I also translate it by each phrase, because then I kind of get the overarching, this is what the piece is saying, and then I repeat step one of what I would do in English and look into what the piece means. My next step is working on diction, learning how to pronounce the piece. So this is especially important in foreign languages, but sometimes it's important in English too. After working on diction, I learned the melodic line and putting other musicality aspects into it, like dynamics and different things like that. After doing that, I hash out the dramatic aspect of the piece, which is really like how I'll perform it. So if I'm gonna like be surprised or be sad or whatever emotions that piece is calling for, I try to portray that in my performance. So that's kind of my creative process. What is the career path you have taken? Where did you start and where are you now? So like I said in the beginning of this video, I am studying music education with a vocal concentration. Where do I want to go? As of right now, I would eventually love to end up in a high school program, kind of like Miss Root. Just kind of run my program. I want to involve musical theater, show choir, and classical. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I would sure love to try. What is next for you? After finishing my undergraduate, I'm really considering getting a master's degree in choral conducting. I take my first conducting class next semester, so that's when I'll really decide if it's what I truly love. But I want to be the best director and conductor that I can be, and a lot of people in my program and in master's programs around me who want to also be the best music directors that they can be do master in choral conducting, so that is definitely what I'm thinking about doing. What is one message that you would like to give to our students? Think really hard about what you're passionate about, figure out how to get paid for it, and work your butt off to do what you need to do to get there. But also, remember to have fun along the way. It's all about the journey. What would you be doing right now if it weren't for your music career? I honestly have no idea what I would be doing right now if I weren't studying music. I always say my backup plan is to be a bank teller, so I guess bank telling. Where have you performed? What are your favorite and least favorite venues? And do you have any upcoming shows? Through Allegro and North's program, I have performed at the PAC in E-Town. I'm sure all of you have as well. In Richmond, they have a performing arts center called EKU Center for the Arts that's really similar to the PAC. It just has a bigger audience. So I've performed there in a lot of choir programs. They also have various theaters around campus similar to the Center for the Arts, except for a lot smaller. It ranges from kind of operatic looking theaters to little black box theaters. There's also a church in Richmond, First Christian Church, that I sing at on Sundays, and my choir also performs that from time to time. They have beautiful acoustics in there. So my favorites, I would say the Pack always will have a special place in my heart because I feel like I kind of grew up on that stage. Other than that, I really love performing in churches because, I mean, the high ceilings just make beautiful sounds. Because of COVID-19, I don't have any upcoming shows. As long as this is all over by the summertime, I have an internship at my home church, Valley View Baptist Church, in which I help run a children's music program. So at the end of every summer, we do a children's musical that I kind of help teach, and so I teach the music and the dancing and the acting and all of that kind of stuff. So as long as everything goes as planned, that performance will be in July. I'd love for you guys to come see it. I can give Miss Ruth the information kind of once it gets closer to that time. How do you feel the internet has impacted the music business? I feel that there are pros and cons to how the internet has impacted the music business. I'm going to start with cons. Some cons are that less people attend live music shows because they can get a lot of that online, which means that you're not always getting that atmosphere that the live music kind of offers. And then also a lot of stuff is overly auto-tuned or edited, so the music isn't always as authentic as it once was. Some pros to how the internet has impacted the music business is that more people have access to music, so more people can just get on YouTube and look up music, whereas they might not have been able to do that before kind of the new innovation that the internet has presented. Also, there are higher quality recordings because of new technology. This is my personal favorite, is that everyone has access to creating music, even if they can't necessarily sing or play an instrument all that well. You can download GarageBand or different things like that and mess around with it and create music whether or not you can sing or play an instrument. So I think that that's definitely a pro to how the internet has impacted the music business. What is your favorite song to perform? I don't know that I could really pick just one song that's my favorite. Some that I've loved to work on since I've been to college. The Sleep That Flits by John Carpenter. Ombre My Fou by Handel. And then I haven't worked on this in college in my studies, but I also love to sing She Used to Be Mine from Waitress. Dr. Waters, he's the EKU choir director. Last spring, he was on sabbatical and he wrote a 30-minute long piece called The Courage for Love that was based on poetry by Wendell Berry, a Kentucky poet, and he wrote it for the EKU choirs and orchestra, and we were able to perform that just before kind of all of this COVID-19 stuff started, so we got to do that concert, and that has been my all-time favorite choral piece to perform, just because first of all, the music was amazing, it was beautiful, and the pride that I had in myself, my ensemble, and my director over performing that piece was just kind of unmatched. It was really amazing. That's something really cool and unique about being in Eastern's music program, is that your professors are not only teachers and musicians, but they're composers. So you get the opportunity to sing pieces that your professors have composed, and that's just, I mean, it's pretty dang cool. What is the best advice you have been given? I have two little nuggets of advice that I really cherish. The first is one that you kind of hear all the time, but I really have taken it to heart and it has pushed me through, and that is that I can do whatever it is that I want to do if I put my mind to it and work hard enough for it. And my little second nugget of advice, I can't think of it. Oh, second nugget of advice, I remembered. My mom tells me this all the time. Work hard for what you do, but always have fun along the way. If you could change anything about the industry, what would it be? I guess if I could change anything about the industry, it would be the stigma that pure talent can take you all the way. In the real world, that's very rare. You have to work very hard to reach your goals, regardless of what career path you go into. Remember that as long as you're working for what you're passionate about, you will only be graded for it. And sometimes people appreciate that hard work ethic a lot more than they appreciate pure talent, especially if there's no work ethic there at all. That's it for questions, but I'd like to leave you with a quote from Picasso. He once said, "My mother said to me, if you become a soldier, you'll become a general. If you become a monk, you'll end up as the Pope. Instead, I became a painter and wound up as Picasso." Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to create this video. I've enjoyed it so much, and it's been so nice to reflect on all of the wonderful things that Miss Root's program had to offer me, and kind of just think about how I've grown since then in my program. North and Miss Root will always hold a special place in my heart, and I know it will for you all too. Let's get through this COVID-19 thing together and get back to making beautiful music. Thanks. Bye. Oh my god. And regardless of what your path,